everyone, welcome back to Homestead Corner. Today we are going to whip up some potato towers to get the potatoes started in our garden. So potato towers are really quite simple to make. You don't need any special fancy tools or anything like that. Today I'm only going to be using a pair of wire cutters and some sort of fencing is all you need. I'm using a chicken wire because that's what I have on hand, and we're just going to cut the wire to length, make the cage, and then I'll show you how to layer everything in there. With your potatoes, I have found I buy the seed potatoes, so they are ready to go. Or if you have some potatoes that are sitting around and you're seeing these eyes on them, they're going to work. I have used potatoes just out of the cabinet that sat around too long. You want this eye piece sticking out. And I just cut the potatoes so every section has at least one node on it, some of them two or three, depending on what I have for potatoes. So if they have lots of them, you could get 2 pieces out of one potato, or you could get 10 pieces out of a potato. They don't have to be huge chunks. And I just cut them and then we set them flat in a tray so the wet insides can dry for a few days. We don't want to leave these wet and stick them in the ground. I have had trouble with them just rotting in there and they won't grow. But if you let them dry for a couple days, it gets like a skin on it. So it's all dried on the outside, but you can feel it's still wet on the inside, which is perfect. So these are ready to be planted. They've just been sitting for a couple days, probably 4 days, I think, since I cut them, and they have a nice good skin on them, so they're ready to go. So let's go ahead and get started. Okay, so I'm just going to use a piece of chicken wire. We've got some old stuff, and honestly, I think this roll is something that we found at the dump. You know, in the metal pile, someone had thrown it on there, and I see quite a lot of it there, so you really could get this stuff for free. We have gotten quite a bit of it for free. Or any kind of fencing that you have. The smaller holes I like for holding everything in, especially right now. All I could get for straw was stuff that's kind of cut up, so I want the smaller holes. But if you've got regular straw to put into your potato towers, then a 2x4 fence or pretty much any kind of fencing you have is going to work for this. So I'm just going to take this fence and stretch my arms out. This is how I measure. I'm just going to stretch my arms out so I get a good size piece, and then I'm just going to cut right down the middle where they're connected to each little thing. So it leaves a little teeny piece for me to hook around the other end, and it closes it all together, so you don't need any special ties or anything like that either. So we're just gonna take these wire cutters and cut right through here and get this ready to plant our potatoes. All right, so I don't know if you can see this, but I've left a little bit, and we're just gonna take our wire, bring it around in a circle. So this is gonna give us our tower. And I'm gonna take those ends that are sticking out and pokey, and I'm just gonna wrap it inside. So if the straw gets poked, that's okay. I really don't want anything too sharp sticking out, so anybody walking by, we don't want them to get hurt on it. So we're just gonna fold these all in all the way down, and it just holds this cage right together, which is great. Simple and easy. Okay, so once we have our little tower all put together, and it doesn't matter how wide it is, you can make these different sizes. There's no exact science to this. We've done them a little bit skinnier and a little bit bigger, and just whatever you come up with, really, it's not going to work differently. So once I get this together and I've got my cylinder, I'm just going to put it right over here where I want it, and it's going to stay here for the entire summer. So I'm going to take some of this straw and we're going to put it right in the bottom. And unfortunately, all I could get was this cut up straw, but that's what it is, and there's nothing else available. So I'm just going to put a good layer of this in the bottom, and I'm going to spread that around. And you can put cardboard on the bottom if you want, but I've never really had too much problems with weeds with this because it is a little tall. So I just have my soil mixed in my wagon here, and this is just regular garden soil. I put a little bit of compost in there from the chicken pen. They make the most beautiful black dirt. If you have chickens, you're gonna have beautiful soil. You can scoop a little bit out. They love to dig in the holes, and it really helps feed your plants. So I've got some of that in here. I had a tiny bit of perlite left, so I threw that in, and a little bit of peat moss as well. We want to make sure it's got decent aeration and it's going to hold the moisture. The straw is going to help hold that moisture. And so this is really nice soil right here, and we're just going to put probably an inch or so in the bottom of our tower. And I just use a little plant pot that I have because this makes it easier. And we're going to put maybe an inch in the bottom, and I don't want it to touch the outside of this. I want it on the inside, really. Get this out of the way so you can see. And we're going to spread this out like that, and then we're going to put our taters in. And we've got them all right here, all dried up and ready to go. I like to put the eyes so they're facing outside, because your potatoes are going to grow right out the sides of this container. So I just put them in a little circle around the outside of the soil. And then I'm going to add another bucket of this soil to the top of these, just like so. And we're going to let that stay mounded up for a few minutes. We're going to put a layer of straw in, and I want the straw along the edges. So once I get those holes covered up with the straw, I'm going to kind of flatten my dirt out, and then I can go over the top of the dirt with the straw. And if you watch other videos on this, people do it a whole bunch of different ways. It just works. So whatever way works for you, definitely experiment and try it out. That's the best advice I can give anybody, is experiment. And gardening is trial and error, definitely. I've had lots of failures over the years, but that's how we learn, and this is what works for us. We have planted in the ground, we've done in raised beds, we've tried all sorts of stuff, and this is the easiest way for us, because at the end of the year, when this is ready and your plants die off, all you do is open the cage and everything falls out. Easy. All right, so we're gonna keep layering this like lasagna until we get it as high as we want. So once I get as many layers in it as I want, and that depends really on your chicken, on how tall your fencing is. So this is not that tall, it's just a little chicken wire, I don't know, 2 feet or so, and maybe 2.5 feet, I'm not really sure. But I put 4 layers in this, 4 lasagna layers of potatoes. And on the top, I've just put a good, nice solid layer on top. And now I'm going to give it a good water and let this get nice and soaked so these babies can start doing their thing. And that's it, really. It's super simple and easy to do. The plants are going to grow out the sides, out the top, and I don't fill this all the way to the top because I'll add more soil to this as the plants come up and they start to get tall. Just like in the ground, you would hill up your potatoes. And I do the same thing in my towers, so I leave a little bit of space on the top so I can add that soil and it's still going to hold it in. And the straw really helps hold the moisture in, and it works really great this way. We have tried all different kinds of methods, and this is what works for us, so I figured I would share it with you. It might work for you as well. So give it a try, get some taters planted, we're gonna need them. And that's it for today. I hope you enjoyed this video, and I hope to see you next time. Bye!